Real estate prices are going up. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I have my morning stein of coffee and, as usual, there is another news article about real estate prices going up once again. So Australia's house prices have rebounded by up to 3,000 a week. 3,000 a week, that sounds impressive, doesn't it? But you need to look in the context of the valuation of the properties and what part of the sector is going up. Now, before we will go through this article, we'll jump to one of my favorite websites. I have a few favorite websites. And this is Trading Economics, and there's a whole lot of data here. Now, there's one bit of data we need to look at because it has a direct influence on the ability for people to purchase houses, and that is the cash rate. We can see here, I mean, look at that, 2.5%. Remember when 2.5% seemed insanely cheap? Guys, do you remember that? Let's go a bit further out. Let's go to, oh, I already am out. Let's go to 10 years. Remember when, under 5% seemed cheap? Let's go out to the max data. Anyone remember when it was over 15%? Now we're at 0.75, and there is talk of additional cuts. So in the last period, just the last couple of months, we have had a drastic cut in the cash rate. That means money is going to be more affordable, combined with the changes to lending requirements. Used to be you'd have to be able to service a loan at 7%, 7.5%, something around there. Now it's been changed to 2.5%. So how many more people are going to be able to get into the housing market? How many more people are going to, be able to buy all those afterpay things with the hidden interest? So we need to take this data into account when we're reading the other information presented to us, particularly from the media and the news, because it's very easy to get emotionally swept up by a lot of things. It's very easy. So guys, please, if you find this type of content interesting, if you're learning something from it, share the channel, share the videos. More people need to be discussing and not afraid to say, well, real estate's up because the cash rate's gone down. That's going to have this effect or this effect. All these politicians are saying that, but look what's happening over here. They're promising that it's going to have these implications. It's realizing that economics and politics and property, everything is woven together, and you can't understand one thing in isolation without seeing how it all works. Remember, we're an emergent planet, and all these emergent systems are coming together, and people are trying to make complex predictions about the future based on limited data. So maybe I'm just skeptical about it all, and that's why I am going grey or silver. Silver sounds better, doesn't it? Yes, silver fox. I could pull that off. What do you reckon, guys? So let's read this article. Australia's house prices have rebounded by up to $3,000 a week. The housing slump could be over, with experts now forecasting increases to house prices over the next few years. Okay, here's the one thing. We've got the Reserve Bank. How many times have we looked at one of their releases in recent months where it was unexpected, it was unknown, it was this or this? Predicting the future is an entertaining pursuit by a lot of people, particularly futurists, and it's fraught with margins of error. It's all to do about probability. That was actually one subject I remember in Maths B at high school, prob. I loved it because I wanted to learn how to gamble. Well, there you go. So property prices are on the rise in Melbourne and Sydney, with average dwelling prices rebounding by about $3,000 per week. So let's have a look at another article. Before we go any further in this, we'll just look at this briefly. Sydney auctions. Inner city unit sells for $2.7 million in result no one expected. Now, they were fighting over a unit. It ended up going over $500,000 above the reserve price. This isn't average. This is not normal. If you think buying a $2.7 million apartment is normal for the average house buying Australian, you're living in a different world to me, okay? That's reality. So that's not normal. We've got all these, high value properties that are influencing the market, that are having an effect on the market. There's also another factor to consider, and I'm going to bring this up just as reference, historical reference, where you can see here this is foreign investment in our housing sector. In 14, 15, 16, 17, between there, the black line, you can see it's nearly at 100%. That is the amount of foreign investment, foreign purchases as a portion of building approvals. You can see how much that was. That overheated the sector. Now we also have money coming in from situations around the world where there are, well, there's global conflict and political issues, Hong Kong being one. And that also could have an influence on the market, particularly the higher end. I mean, if you're getting out of Hong Kong, if you want to get your money out of there, away from the Chinese Communist Party, chucking another $500,000 at a property isn't going to hurt you. If you have that funds and you need to get it out, that's an emotionally based decision. So that's only anecdotal. I've heard a few things there, and it'll take a while for that data to filter through into the foreign investors, but it is something to keep into consideration. Remember, we have these foreign issues, and we've got historical precedent of foreign investment. Up to 30% of it was coming from China. Okay, so there's a precedent of that happening. We now have insane interest rate cuts, and we have political issues overseas. So when all these things come together, and they're saying, oh, clearance rates are higher, but it's at the more valuable end of the property. What can we say? Can we blindly run out and buy our house at an inflated price, or should we wait? It's up to you to make that decision, but it's better to have all the pieces of the puzzle together, so at least you're right, even though it keeps shooting up. Deloitte Access Economics latest business outlook released today noted average dwelling prices in Sydney had risen by about 3,000 per week in September. Melbourne experienced a bounce of about 2,500 a week. Deloitte is predicting more to come, noting that housing-related lending has started to climb and auction clearance rates were returning to boom time levels. Okay, one thing with the auction clearance rates, I did a few videos looking at it and recording it. I really should start again, but on the weekend I get pretty tired with the camping trips. Is to do with, it's just a percentage. So if the same number of dwellings weren't put on for sale, it's going to be a different rate. Tasmania had 100%. That didn't make the media. And it's a very emotive way to buy, the auction clearance rates. Particularly they're bidding and fighting with other people. I can see why people want to do it. There's an auction on my street for a house. Nothing. It's now for sale. I don't think anyone bid. So it's been a stunning turnaround for the market after prices fell in both cities by about 2,000 a week from late 2018 to early 2019. The rebound in Sydney's housing prices is welcome, but it's also bad news, the report said. It will help New South Wales by boosting retail and housing construction, but down the track, the return towards diabolical rates of housing affordability will bite into New South Wales' economy and population growth. Is housing affordable now in Sydney and New South Wales? No, it's not. Even with these decreases, it's not affordable. Deloitte noted that Australia needs a renewed housing price bubble like it needs a hole in the head, with the recent rebound, but understood as a hair of the dog that bit us in the first place. Okay, sure. Luckily, Deloitte doesn't think the market will flip straight back into bubble mode. Some of the current rebound in housing prices is happening simply because the mood among buyers has recovered faster than sellers have rejoined the market. So it's a supply issue. It's just money chasing supply. Despite auction clearance rates bouncing so high, they would in recent years have led to an implied 10% jump in Sydney and Melbourne house prices. Deloitte doesn't think there will be the same increase this time. The previous housing boom lasted about 6 years, although cities like Darwin and Perth had much shorter cycles. Sydney was the main beneficiary, with prices rising by 70% between 2011 and 2017, according to realestate.com. This is why whenever I see someone, an article, oh, we came back from overseas broke and now we own 6 houses. And you're thinking, well, no, you came back from overseas broke and now you've got 6 mortgages on 6 properties. Unless you paid them out, then I'd be really impressed. But I would bet a carton that they haven't. Since then, prices have dropped by about 12%, but the market is now showing signs of recovery. Yes, but what is facilitating that recovery? If it's artificially low interest rates, if it's additional foreign investors coming in due to political reasons that are highly motivated to get their money out, and the fact that there is less supply. So we put all these things together. How is it a sign of recovery? To me, it seems like a bump. But that's not positive spin, is it? Even though a rapid increase in house prices won't be good in the long term for the economy, there are some advantages. Deloitte believes it will encourage a modest recovery in the retail sector as consumers feel reassured about their wealth. Okay, so there's the wealth effect, but that's all fake, isn't it? That's all fake. So, there's a chart I looked at yesterday, and I will bring that up. We'll go to consumer credit, and you can see here where it's just shot up. And we'll go to the max data. We'll go to the last 5 years. You can see what's just recently boom. That's a jump. That's not a steady growth. That, I feel, I don't have any data to back it up, but it is to do with the tax refund that everyone thought was a cash handout. So maybe they run out and used some credit. The largest single contributor to the slowdown in the Australian economy has been a weakening in the pulse among shoppers. And the largest single contributor to that consumer caution was the nasty fall in house prices from late 2018 through the opening months of 2019, the report said. Deloitte suggests that housing downturn in Australia alongside the drought have been the two main factors in the slowdown in the economy, with global factors not as influential as many believe. Really? The drought and housing prices. But housing prices are affected by foreign investment. I'm showing you evidence right here. How is that not global factors affecting it? Can someone let me know in the comments, please? I don't work for Deloitte. I'm not an accountant or an economist. Just a normal person who happens to drink coffee in 1/2 litre size steins, but nonetheless, that's normal. More and more viewers are telling me that they are now drinking coffee out of steins. So I think that this is a movement. We will save the Australian economy one stein of coffee at a time. Nonetheless, back to the article. In fact, it says Australia has been the big winner from the world downturn. Has it? It is because countries like China have responded to its own slowdown by pumping out stimulus that has encouraged construction. This has helped Australia because it supplies resources like coking coal and iron ore that are required to make steel. Okay, that's good. But let's just bring up another one of my favorite websites here. This is the Australian economy, and it is showing you what our exports are: iron ore, coal, who our major trade partners are, if you're not familiar with it. China. So we're more, I'd say that's, in some ways it's a positive, but where is that money going? Where are we investing it, guys? Where's it all gone? And I'm going to bring up another quote from everyone's favorite CEO of Freelance, or ex-CEO, Matt Berry. In 2016, 67% of our GDP growth, and I'll just paraphrase, was a small area between 67% of GDP growth came from the cities of Sydney and Melbourne. There was a small area between the Sydney CBD to Macquarie Park that, in the apartment boom, was 24% of that growth. So nearly a quarter of all of the growth in 2016 in GDP went into buildings in Sydney, apartments in Sydney. Now, I look at other things on this channel, and I've got another few videos coming up about Mascot Towers. There is serious construction issues in where all of this wealth that has come from resources that we've sold off overseas. It's just as the simplified idea. We've sold our dirt and our foodstuffs, and we can't get that back. Okay? And we put it into crumbling buildings. So, is that good? Is that smart? Is it smart to incentivize that type of investment? as a civilization. So people think that global negatives have been monstering the Australian economy, the report says. Yet it's the opposite that's true. A global gift of higher iron ore and coal prices has limited the damage from drought and a housing downturn. Yes, but here's the thing, that is completely beyond our control at all. The report noted the slowdown in Australia's economy in recent times had been largely homegrown. The report suggested the drought had directly stripped about $5 billion out of Australia's economy, out of Australian incomes in the past year. This doesn't include the knock-on effects to other sectors that rely on the agricultural industry, including small shops in regional towns and the trucking industry. The federal government is now facing pressure from experts, including the Reserve Bank of Australia, to provide stimulus in the economy through things like infrastructure spending. Okay, now there can be a big issue there, and I will link it to my video about the broken window fallacy, guys, where government spending, again, may not be productive. It's like putting all of your revenue into broken houses. And how much of our super funds is in retail property? Just keep that in the back of your mind with your super. So far, the government is resisting the pressure, which Deloitte said isn't necessarily a bad thing. The Reserve Bank has been pushing for stimulus because it believes Australia needs to get unemployment down to 4.5% so that wages and prices improve quicker. But Deloitte notes this would be spending a lot of Australia's rainy day fund. The more recession insurance that Australia cashes in now, the less that we'd have available in the event of a crisis, the report says. Well, yes, we haven't actually, if America officially goes into a recession, what do you think is going to happen to Australia then? Let me know in the comments. So it all comes down to whether you believe there will be a recession over the next 5 years. Deloitte believes holding on to the stimulus could prove handy if there was a crisis down the track. But if there was no later downturn, it would have been better to introduce the stimulus now to help 200,000 extra people into jobs and boost wages. That's the debate Australia should be having, the report said. However, it suggests there is no answer, or no right answer to this dilemma. As cautious types, Deloitte Access Economics isn't all that unhappy with how policy has been and is unfolding to date, the report continued. So, guys, what do you think? This is certainly interesting, and having a broader perspective of the house price rises. I think, personally, it feels like it's not a sustained growth. There doesn't seem to be enough underlying things that I could argue that seem to be explaining to me that this is going up. Why is there a sudden demand for property in Sydney or Melbourne over a previous period? If we didn't have all these other extenuating circumstances, then yes, you could say, oh, maybe there's new infrastructure spending, or maybe there's population growth that's driving up the demand. But it doesn't seem like it, does it? Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Have a lovely day. And if you would like to help me produce this content, I have a Patreon and a Subscribe Star, and I appreciate all your support. Also have Amazon and other referral links below, and it's a great way for you to support the channel without any cost to you, and it adds up. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.